Okay, gentlemen, we're live.
There we go.
Good morning, everybody. Would you all please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, good morning, everybody, and welcome to the February 8th BOCC meeting. First thing on our agenda are the minutes. Gentlemen, do you have any additions, corrections, or comments?
I do not. Move we approve the proceedings of the Board of County Commissioners, Montezuma County, February 1st, 2022.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded to accept the proceedings of the Board of Commissioners, Montezuma County, February 1st, 2022. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, planning. You are next.
We're short one.
Hey, a different hat.
Or down a mic, so,
Where-
and my mic's sitting right here.
Actually, I'm gonna, before this even starts, before I open this, I'm gonna recuse myself and I'm gonna leave the room and I'll turn this over to Commissioner Lindsay for this public hearing.
Okay, Kim, you want to go ahead and read the roll and the announcement?
Okay. Commissioner Candelaria has recused himself. Commissioner Lindsay.
Here.
Commissioner Copenhafer. Here. Administrator Powers.
Here.
Attorney McLaren.
Here.
And Kim Purcell, Montezuma County Clerk and Recorder. Notice is hereby given that the Montezuma County Board of County Commissioners will hold a public hearing for review and determination of a proposed single-lot development in AR 3-9 rezoning application submitted by Triple S Farms LLC, agent Ernie Manus, on property located at 26780 Road M, Cortez, Colorado, consisting of 247.62 acres, more or less, located south of Road M, west of Highway 145, situated in Section 13, Township 36 North, Range 16 West, NPM. The hearing will be held Tuesday, February 8, 2022, at 9 a.m. in the Commissioners' Hearing Room, Montezuma County Administrative Offices, 109 West Main, Cortez, Colorado. Interested persons may attend and give input. Information may be obtained from the Planning Office online service at https://co-co.smartgovcommunity.com, public home. You may also contact the Planning Department at 970-565-2801 with questions. Dated this 19th day of January, 2022, Kim Purcell, Clerk, Board of County Commissioners, Montezuma County, Colorado. Published in the Journal on Wednesday, January 26, 2022.
Thank you, Kim. Planning.
Yes, sir. So, well, the history is that when Ertels owned this, their caretaker has lived at this residence for 30-some years, and they wish to give them the property at some point in the future. So through Keenan, the same scenario. Now they sold it to Triple S Farms, and they would like to complete the transaction. Previously, the variance was approved to allow an 1.5-acre parcel be created if this single lot development is approved. So it's just basically that single lot development out of the other 200 or 300 acres there at the northeast corner of Road M. Unless Ernie's got something more.
I think that was clear. Gerald, do you have anything you want to say?
There was a variance already issued for this?
Yeah, there was a variance approved, before planning and zoning, to allow for an 1.5-acre parcel be created as opposed to the 3-acre minimum, just because of the specifics of this
And this parcel
Scenario.
has been there how long?
30-some years.
30 years. The septic permit is about 30 years old. It was issued into Walt Hertel's name.
So just a little more history, Gerald is, or Commissioner Copenhaver, was that what's his name? The caretaker, I don't know his name.
Lucero Ruiz.
The plan is to put a hay barn there east of this property. If this was a 3-acre parcel given to him, then he was gonna be taxed for that full new development and that property, which he didn't want to take care of it, and Triple S Farms would just as soon that be on their property and not have that scenario. So it's just kind of a one instance situation that we'll probably see in the county.
Is all the septic system on that property?
Yes.
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 Yeah, we drove by and looked at it. It's been there for 30-some years. We should open public comment, so public comment is now open. Anybody wanting to comment, please come to the podium, state your name and your address and your support or disapproval.
My name is Tim Lanier, and I support this action. I've known this gentleman for a long time, and he's been a faithful employee of Hertel's, and anyway, I support this action.
Thank you. Anybody else? We'll close the portion of public comment and proceed. Anything else, Gerald?
I don't have any problem with it. I'm on the property,
Yeah.
like you said, forever, and that's their wishes. I don't have any problem with it.
Okay. Put that in the form of a motion.
I move that we approve this proposed single lot development at 26780 Road M, Cortez, Colorado, consisting of 1.5 plus or minus acres.
I'll second that. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Approved.
Commissioners, can we make sure we include the rezoning of that parcel as well?
Okay. Kim, would you include that in the minutes, please?
Thank you.
And we will close this public hearing, and somebody go grab Commissioner Candelaria and we'll proceed. Thank you, Ernie. Now what are we going to do for 10 minutes? We can't sign Mylars without Candelaria in the room. There we go.
Okay.
We still got 10 minutes till the next one.
And then Mylar.
We can do
Oh
Mylars.
my God.
Yeah, we've got 2 Mylars to sign that were previously approved, one for the Wilkin planned unit development and one for the Collier planned unit development.
Okay.
Yeah.
What's coming next then?
Where is it?
What?
Gosh, we're way ahead.
Keep going.
I'll start running through.
We're gonna get to pretty here pretty quick.
So do we still have the 920 or?
Well, we have to wait for the 920. It'll be requested to be continued. And items 1 and 2 on the agenda need to be continued as well.
Okay. So do you have a date for the continuation? Or to be determined?
For the
Of-
920?
Of items 1 and 2?
They,
Item 1, it depends on when they get the Mylar signed. It's in realtor land right now with the issues with the title company. So I don't know on that one. Item number 2,
Will be within the next.
within
3
it,
days.
1, 2 to 3 weeks, but we'll just have to let you know and put it on the agenda. It's not public noticed.
Neither one of those are.
Okay. All right, well then we're gonna jump around a little bit, since we still have 7 minutes by my clock. Ian, we'll just jump into our report.
Yeah, Commissioners, I don't have a lot to report. Filed a couple motions in our land use cases last week. One to dismiss the matter that we spoke about last week. I'm still waiting for a ruling on that. And then a motion for default judgment on the fish property that we're enforcing on. Basically, there's no response. The court has entered a default, and so now we're just looking for a hearing, basically, where they'll enter a default judgment amount, and we'll also ask for an order that he clean up. And then certainly if that order is not complied with, then we can pursue contempt actions.
All right. Shaq, we can start.
certainly, commissioners. The first thing that I have for the commissioners is the payables for the month of December 2021, which you've had a chance to look those over. You had the list of checks and warrants to go with those as well.
Any question, gentlemen?
No, I had some that Shaq answered, and I move we approve the payables for, let's December, is that, no, that's not the right
Yeah, December
1st to
2021.
31st.
one. Okay, December 1st through December 31st, 2021.
Second.
Okay, it has been moved and seconded to accept the payables for Montezuma County for the period of December 1st, 2021 through December 31st, 2021 in the amount of $4,618,612.16. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
And the second thing I have for the commissioners, our landfill is putting in a grant, hoping to get a compost windrow turner from the Resource Recovery and Economic Opportunity grant from the Colorado Department of Public Health and Environment. And the landfill is requesting a letter of support from the commissioners on that.
Any discussion, gentlemen? I think this one's pretty self-explanatory as far as the, but for the general public, Shaq, can you explain a windrow turner for them? Is it?
Yeah, sure. So our compost has to meet time and temperature, and one of the ways that one of the reasons for that is to destroy fecal coliform, viable hematoma, salmonella, anything that would be undesirable in the compost. So it has to be above 131 degrees Fahrenheit for longer than 15 consecutive days. And so what the landfill does is we monitor the temperatures of 1 foot and 3 foot of depth every 20 feet. And when temperatures either change radically or there's a 20-degree temperature between 1 foot and 3 foot, or it becomes a fire hazard because it's getting over 150 degrees, then that pile has to be turned. Currently, the landfill turns those piles with a loader, just a loader bucket, turning it over and over again, and it doesn't mix uniformly, and it doesn't get water all the way through. What this machine would do is provide a more uniform turning, which will make the process more efficient, and it'll water at the same time. So instead of turning with a loader and then coming back with a water truck, we would be able to accomplish both processes at once. And by keeping organics, which we're hoping to start diverting the food waste from the restaurants and supermarkets, which right now we estimate to be about 18 tons a week. By keeping those components out of the landfill to begin with, we offset the future need to mitigate against the problems they create, such as leachate production and methane production. And furthermore, if you notice, our soil here is like a clay, so when it rains, everything turns green for a couple of days, but then it dries and cracks. And the reason it's doing that is because the soil is packed so tightly that no drainage is possible, and so the water is evaporating back up. That's what causes the surface of the ground to crack. So we are able to divert those organics and mitigate our soil. We produce a product that people want and need locally, and then the profit stays local as well.
Okay, thank you. Any other discussion as far as the commission?
Move we sign the letter of support for the RREO Grant Selection Committee to try and get us a compost turner.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded to sign a letter of support to the RREO Grant Selection Committee in reference to the FRA 36-128 application for Montezuma County for a compost windrow turner. Any other discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. And thank you for that explanation, Shaq. I think it's good that the public knows what the process is actually to for us to create that composting down there at the landfill.
Yes, sir.
Would else do you have?
That's it for me, but it's 9:20.
Okay, well then it's 9:20. We will move back to our 9:20 agenda, and we have a public hearing. So Kim, would you call the roll, please?
Commissioner Candelaria.
Here.
Commissioner Lindsey.
Here.
Commissioner Copenhaver. Administrator Powers.
Here.
Attorney McLaren.
Here.
Kim Purcell, Montezuma County Clerk and Recorder. Notice is hereby given that the Montezuma County Board of County Commissioners will hold a public hearing for review and determination of a proposed single lot development and AR 3-9 rezoning application submitted by Joseph and Austin Hancock on property located at to be determined Road 16, Yellow Jacket, Colorado, consisting of 115.69 acres more or less, located south of Road W, east of Road 16, situated in Section 5, Township 37 North, Range 17 West, NPM. The hearing will be held Tuesday, February 8th, 2022 at 9:20 a.m. in the Commissioners' Hearing Room, Montezuma County Administrative Offices at 109 West Main, Cortez, Colorado. Interested persons may attend and give input. Information may be obtained from the Planning Office online services at https://co-montezuma-co.smartgovcommunity.com public home. You may also contact the Planning Department at 970-565-2801 with questions. Dated this 19th day of January 2022, Kim Purcell Clerk, Board of County Commissioners, Montezuma County, Colorado. Published in the Journal on Wednesday, January 26, 2022.
Okay, thank you, Kim. Don, you want to give us an overview?
Yes, the planning department would like to request a continuance of this public hearing to February 22nd in order for the packets to have a minimum of 10 days requirement of notice to the adjoining property owners.
Okay. Yeah. Any question? Okay. How do you- To continue it, yeah.
Go ahead.
I move that we continue this public hearing on the single lot development for Tuesday night rezoning application submitted by Joseph and Austin Hancock until February 22nd.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded to continue this proposed single lot development and AR 3-9 rezoning application submitted by Joseph and Austin Hancock on property located at TBD Road 16, Yellow Jacket, Colorado, to February 22nd, 2022. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
And do you need a time on that?
It'll be the same time.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
Oh, I'll close this public hearing at this time. I always forget that.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Formalities.
have-
The only other issue I have right now, I don't know if it's something that we need to, well, we'll let Ian decide. Sent a letter to Elegant Hills Mobile Home Park. It's been past 10 days, did not get a response from them. They've got 5 mobile homes that are basically need salvage, needs taken to the landfill, stored on one lot over south of their water or wastewater treatment ponds. They're demoing, recycling. I don't know what the process is, but they've got a couple of old cars over there and tearing apart mobile homes. And then they're in the middle of the circle there. They've got a big burn pile. I checked that out. I guess it would have been Monday afternoon last week. They have burned that, but there's still a whole bunch of remnants there, as you can see on the picture. So none of those are approved, authorized use of that approved mobile home park. So I sent them a letter. Just to be consistent, Vista Verde Village across the road, across the highway, they had 3 or 4 mobile homes in the southeast corner that they've been storing there for 2 or 3 years, and they got a letter last year, and they cleaned that all up and got all that hauled out in a couple weeks. So none of those trailers, even if they say they're usable, they don't meet the setback requirements. So that needs to be addressed. And as we've discussed before, all these old mobile homes seem to be the biggest culprit, being left on people's property. Then they become homeless shelters, and then they become encampments and compounds, and everything goes downhill from there. So, from what I understand, those can be hauled to the landfill intact. I don't know the cost or procedure at that point. I don't know, Shaq might be able to enlighten the public on that, but everybody just stashes a mobile home on their property, and then they tear it a third apart, and then they just let the trash and everything blow, and it just goes south from there.
So, once it comes to the landfill, of course, depending on the year of the mobile home, an asbestos inspection is required. If there is asbestos containing material, it's required to be mitigated. Other than that, rather than charging by weight, mobile homes are pretty heavy. They charge by the cubic yard. They're put into the construction and demolition pit, and we do ask that the person bringing it take the tires with them.
So legally, I mean, Ian, where do we stand on this? Because I think one of our biggest concerns are more the encampments and the, what that brings with us is what we're trying to clean up. So
Yeah.
to leave these here as far as the land use code, what is our course of action?
Well, I mean, so at this point, Don sent the letters. That's the first step. Next step is we can bring an action, a civil action for violation of the land use code. As we've talked about before, we can also bring a criminal action against the property owner. It's a class 3 misdemeanor for each day that the property is out of compliance with the land use code. Those are your two options. So far with these land use cases, we've brought the civil action to start in hopes of, in essence, enticing people to clean up the mess by threatening to impose a fine or imposing a fine. We just did move one of our land use cases off of the docket. I anticipate that case will be dismissed. So I do have some time. I think there are obviously land use violations here. As we've talked about, that given the size of our office, we can't prosecute 10 or 12 of these at one time. And so really it's a matter of the commission deciding what you guys want to prioritize in terms of land use enforcement. Certainly the goal is to bring all these properties into compliance. And so it's really up to you guys to give me some direction. If this is a property you want to prioritize, we can certainly bring a civil case for land use violation. What I would suggest is before we file a civil case, I can try to reach out to the property owner. Obviously planning and zoning sent a letter already. Sometimes hearing from an attorney sort of ups it a little bit more. Maybe we can get this stuff cleaned up without bringing a full-scale action. But it's really up to the commission. If you guys want to prioritize this, I have time and I can file something. If you don't, or if you'd rather prioritize another property at this point, that's your prerogative.
Did they had 10 days to respond to the letter, correct?
Correct.
And then did we put anything in the letter as far as a time frame for them for the cleanup or mitigation of it?
No, it just strictly says that they need to contact us so we can let them know what needs done and by when. And I can still email them. I was in correspondence with them the end of last year. I guess part 2 of this is they've got septic issues. It's being overseen by CDPHE. It's governed by the state. The owner contacted me and said that they worked out all their issues and that they are no longer under restriction and they can expand and move in more mobiles, yada, yada, yada. And so I told them I needed a letter from CDPHE. The next correspondence that I got was from CDPHE the second week of January that says the opposite.
No mobiles have been moved in yet, though, right?
Correct.
Yeah.
So,
Well, two different issues, really.
two different
One
issues.
is
And-
CDPHE, and the other one is
right.
if we leave these here, we're going to continue to accumulate and have the problem that we've been trying to resolve.
Right now, they had 4 for a couple, 3 years, and they added a 5th one there in the northeast corner. Going by there, nobody is actually living in them. It's not turning into an encampment yet, so I don't know that it's one of the higher ones on our list. Like I say, I can email her and reach out again, remind her she got a certified letter that she needs to respond, get it addressed, or get it cleaned up, or both. But it's up to you guys.
And I just want to reiterate to the commission again, whether these places are being used as encampments or not is not the point.
Right.
The point is whether the property violates the land use code. And so I think we have to continue to hone in on that fact, because that's really what we're looking at here. We're looking at whether properties violate the land use code. And so, obviously there are violations here. We've got a lot of properties in the county that violate the land use code. And so, like I said, it's up to you guys to decide what you want to prioritize.
Personally, I think I know you send them a letter, I think we should try again, again, send them a letter, see what that response we get from that. If we don't get a response from that, then if we're gonna clean these places up. But I think we should give them notice.
I'll
Being said, up the game a little bit, see if they'll respond.
I'll get a letter in the mail to them this week if that's what you guys want to do. I think that makes a lot of sense because certainly, doing everything we can out of court before we go to court. If we can get these places into compliance, it saves a lot of time and resources.
And I would definitely agree with that. So we need that, that's just direction.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't. Yep.
And I think we're all good with that.
Okay.
Send them a letter from the attorney, and then we'll see if we get a response, and then we can move forward and hopefully stay out of court.
Sounds like a good plan.
I think that's what we did with the one to the south there, and then they got those mobile homes out of there relatively quickly after that. It
Mhm.
was pretty short.
Yeah, I think that's a good course of action.
Okay. All right.
That's all I got.
Very good.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys. Next on our agenda is our public comment. Board of County Commissioners welcomes you to this meeting. Person speaking during the public comment will be limited to 3 minutes, or depending on the number of people wishing to speak, it may be reduced to allow all members of the public the opportunity to address the board. When addressing the board, please state your name, address for the record prior to providing your comments. Comments to individual supervisors or staff are not permitted, and participants may not yield their time to others. At this time, the public comment session is open.
Jeff Coulon, Highway 491. I don't know if you guys heard of the Freedom Rally that's leaving California and gathering trucks going to Washington. There is a chance that there's been a proposed map that is coming through here. Was wondering, there's a group of people that want to feed these people and stuff on their way through. And if we could use the parking lot at the fairgrounds to do this.
I think.
So, I mean, the first
the
step would be checking
date
the
to
schedule
check
at
with
the
Justin.
fairgrounds.
Right. And see, we don't know the date yet, or even, it's just a proposed deal right now going through here. But I want to give you guys a heads up, in case it does, because if it does, then we're going to need ample parking for this, from what I understand.
Right. I think, like Shaq just said, as long as you get, or at least a tentative date, get with Justin at the fairgrounds,
Okay.
because he has the schedules of what's going on out there,
Okay?
and then work through him first. Obviously, this is a heads up, but then
Right.
and then he'll get back to us at that point in time.
Okay. Okay. Now, is there any stipulations on that?
Whatever normal costs apply to the fairgrounds.
Yeah, whatever. That's what I was saying. Just get
Okay.
with Justin to see
All right.
what those are.
Okay.
We don't have those schedules here in front of us.
Right,
now.
I understand that. So, second thing is the courthouse is still requiring masks. The county has no mask mandates. Supposedly, Polis stopped all mask mandates. So why are our community still required to wear a mask to go in our courthouse?
Why don't you take that again?
Yeah, so I can speak to that. The courthouse is administered by the state of Colorado, and the court administrator is a state employee, and the chief judge, obviously, he has jurisdiction to decide how his courthouse operates. The chief judge of the district has issued the mask order, and that's a standing order until he changes it. The county really has no, or this board has no control over that at this time.
Okay, it just seems ridiculous, and it does to most people in this county. And anyway, it's just a sad deal that we're letting that happen here. So, if there's anything you guys can do to get this stopped, we would appreciate it. So, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good morning. My name is Queenie Bars, and I am with the Montezuma County VFW 5231 Auxiliary. And I am here to ask the commissioners permission to use the county annex, the senior center, for March 17th for our annual St. Patty's Day dinner. I've already spoken with John over there, and he has penciled us in with your approval.
And commissioners, I've corresponded with John Parker as well. He has no objections to waiving the fees for that day.
Okay. We can move that onto unfinished business, and we'll capture that here in just a little while.
It's actually the next thing on the agenda, right?
Well, we got to get through.
Oh, public
Did I
comment.
speak out? I'm sorry.
You're fine. Queenie.
Yeah.
Actually, I take that back, Queenie. He is right. So as soon as we finish public comment, then we'll go to that. Anybody else? Okay, we'll close the public comment session of this meeting, and we're going to move on. So the VFW Post 5321, the auxiliary request for the annex for the St. Patrick's Day. Queenie just presented that. Gentlemen, do you have any discussion?
No.
Okay.
I move we approve the request from the VFW Post 5321 for waiving of the fees at the annex for St. Patrick's Day dinner. Oh, it's backwards on my note.
5231.
Sorry, when I was typing that, I had a Listexic moment.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded to waive the fees for the VFW Post 5231 auxiliary request for the annex for the St. Patrick's Day, 3/17/2022. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, next we have a liquor license. Ms. Frizzell. Oh,
My name is
So-
Melinda Fuller, and I work at the county clerk's office. I'm presenting this application for a transfer of ownership for a liquor license. Jerry Frizzell and Bruce Frizzell have bought Bubba's, also they want to transfer the liquor license to their LLC, which is Bubba J's LLC. Do you have any questions? I emailed everything to the attorney.
Yeah, we're fine to move forward with this.
And just to reiterate, Commissioner Copenhaver, you're probably aware of this, but with Bubba's, this being a new application, this is, if there were a time, we usually basically rubber stamp these, but usually if there were a time to deny it, it would be when a liquor license is new. It's very hard to deny a renewal unless there's significant reason to, so.
Which would be typically from the sheriff or something that they've given us into their report that is significant.
It's a violation.
Yeah, that there's multiple violations.
So when I do a new license, or when Jerry does a new license, she couldn't do this one because it's hers, but they get fingerprinted, everything's sent to the FBI, the CBI, and then the sheriff's office also does on renewals and on new licenses. They do an extensive check. Sorry, I missed it.
Yes, sir.
Is Doug here today?
Believe so.
Oh, I just make sure he was okay.
You mean Jim?
No, Doug,
As far as I know.
because he wasn't here with Rachel yesterday.
Oh, yeah, he had another meeting. I assumed.
Yep, that's all we have to do now.
So we're just changing the name from Bubba's to Bubba J's. That's all that's it.
Yeah, because it's a new application.
Okay. I move to approve this Colorado liquor retail license application for Bubba J's LLC.
And it's really going to be a transfer of an existing license from Bubba's to Bubba J LLC.
Okay. At 18806 Highway 491, Lewis, Colorado, 81327.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded to accept the Colorado liquor retail license application transfer for Bubba J's LLC located at, where's the address? 18806 Highway 491. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. You don't have this one tagged for me.
It's last page of the application, I highlighted it.
Oh, gotcha.
Costs a lot of money to change your name, huh? Cost $1,550.
That's just the state.
Yeah, the state.
Thank you.
Thank you. Now are you, now Jerry. We have a couple of renewals that we have to
Tag
deal
team
with.
liquor license.
Thank you for approving that, guys. My name is Jerry Frizzell. I work for Montezuma County Clerk and Recorders. I do all the renewals for liquor license and usually the new liquor license when they're not my own. And what we do is they fill out their renewal application, bring it to us. I send it off to the sheriff's office to make sure there's no violations from the sheriff's office. And then once you guys approve the renewals, I send all the stuff off to the state and they get their liquor license from the state. And I also have one today that once the liquor license has been approved, I bring it to you guys and you sign off a liquor license that has been approved by the state. So the first one I got will be Westview RV Resort at 12092 Highway 145 in Dolores. There's been no violations on it. And the next one will be Paragon Business Investments LLC, doing business as Hilltop Liquor at 27963 Highway 184 in Dolores. And there's been no violations on it from the county, the sheriff's office. And this one here is just the one I just need you to sign. It's already been approved and everything, and went to the state, and they sent me the license.
I move we approve liquor license renewal application for Westview Resort, P.O. Box 483, Cortez, Colorado, located at, I wrote it down, 12092 Highway 145.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded to accept the retail liquor fermented malt beverage license renewal application for Westview RV Resort located at 12092 Highway 145, Dolores, Colorado. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I move that we approve the renewal application for retail liquor and fermented malt beverage for Hilltop Liquor at 27963 Highway 184, Dolores.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded that we accept the retail liquor fermented malt beverage license renewal application for Hilltop Liquor located at 27963 Highway 184, Dolores, Colorado. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay,
Thank you, gentlemen.
that's it.
Thank you, Jerry.
Thank you, Jerry. Next, we're going to step right into the county operations, vehicle maintenance, Shane Higman.
Good morning.
Good
Morning.
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 All right. This time I'm going to go over just kind of who I am because you don't know me. So I'm Shane Higman. I take care of I'm the fleet manager and the road shop foreman. We work out of the building over there by the golf course, the top building, the old armory. We take care of all the fleet purchasing and all the fleet maintenance, plus keeping all the road department equipment up and going. We also assist with the fairgrounds and the landfill equipment as needed there. A fleet, we have 104 light units and 179 heavy units countywide. We're funded by, basically we're a loan from the road department. And then we charge $40 an hour for all of our fleet work. That covers the main fleet mechanic plus a partial a portion of Virginia's wages and my wages, and it all, basically, we just have to pay the road department back for the loan per year to run the fleet. And other than that, we try to keep, road department-wise and fleet-wise, we try to keep as much work as we can in-house. It saves the county a lot of money, especially when it comes to the road department stuff. If we can build engines and change transmissions and things like that and don't have to farm that out, it saves the county a lot of money. We work with our budget is around, I think it's 360,000 a year, and that goes pretty quick when you have that many pieces of equipment to take care of. So we have to watch it pretty close. Other than that, we joined with Enterprise for our sheriff stuff this last year that you may have heard about. We'll be getting 14 new patrol units, hopefully by the end of the year. The whole fleet thing has been a wreck, but you can't purchase any vehicles right now. But they have ordered those, and they say that they'll be here mid-summer, and then we'll get them equipped to go out on the road. We also will be getting a new emergency manager and a new coroner pickup in that same setup. We put the road department pickup, the superintendent's pickup, the emergency manager, and the coroner all in with Enterprise, and they'll be changed basically every 4 years. And part of that I didn't realize came with the Enterprise was we merged fuel cards with Enterprise, and our savings per gallon at Conoco's, we get a rebate, and it went from 1 cent a gallon up to 5 cents a gallon, just merging with Enterprise. So that should up our money coming back. We get a check. I think it's quarterly, and it may be monthly. I'm not really sure on that, but we get a check back on that.
So we still, the last time we talked to you, it was Q3 for the arrival of those units?
As far as we know, that's still the outlook. We have another meeting with her, I think, next month for an update. But as
Okay.
far as we know, that's still
Just to
true.
kind of give you some information too, we ordered these right away. We ordered them like, was it October of 2021?
All the fleet stuff we ordered right after the first of the year, as soon as they would let us do the 2022 model.
Right.
So,
So-
and that's one joy of working with Enterprise is they keep up on exactly the date when government bidding can go in, and they get it ordered right away. So and that's the same thing I need to do. Now we're into the 2023 models, so we will have to watch really close in the fleet and government bid process is such a small window now that you have to get your order in just a couple of weeks there. So we have to move a lot faster than we used to. It used to be open all year round, but the last 2 years with the vehicle shortages, they have really cut that down. So hopefully by next month, we won't have any bidding until probably at least March. So hopefully next month I'll be able to come in with a list of any extra stuff I wanted to put in on 2022. So when those bidding windows come open, we can move fast on them. So, but other than that, that's all I really have is we just need to move on those. So hopefully by next month, I'll have a good idea of what vehicles we want to replace for this next year. And we still have to replace everything we didn't get last year. So.
Okay. Question?
No.
Good.
All right. Thank
All
you,
right.
Shane.
Thank you.
Thanks, Shane.
Buildings and maintenance, Dustin.
Good morning.
Morning.
I'm Dustin Sattler. I'm a Buildings and Grounds Maintenance Director. We have 13 buildings, and we do all the HVAC work, well, as much as we can, and mow lawns, plow the snow, push the sidewalks, and anything else that really needs done that we can take care of. lately we've gotten the gutters installed at the combined courts. We installed an emergency exit window on the first floor for social services down here. Then we installed fire extinguishers and shut off your engine and no smoking signs at all the fuel tanks at the road departments and the fairgrounds. And then at the Lost Canyon shop, we have the rough-in electric done for the office and the drywall up. We're working on the mud now. And then other than that, it's just been little things around all the buildings that have come up.
Thank you, Dustin.
Thank you. Have a good day.
Yeah.
Thanks, Dustin.
Rachel, or Doug, GIS.
I have something in Dropbox, Jack, just 2 PDFs. I don't have a lot new to report, so just wanted to, for Commissioner Copenhaver, give a little bit of an update of some of the things the GIS department has evolved into over the past 10 years. Since I started with the GIS department, a lot of what we did when we first started was it was updating parcels. A lot of it was directly related to working with the assessor's office. That was why the GIS department was created back in 1995. And since then, it's evolved, a good amount since then. We also used to spend a lot of time creating a roads database, submitting HETF reports and so forth. Since that time, that's become part of our standard duties, but we've branched out quite a bit on that. I'm not really going to go into detail. This is a presentation we did a couple of years ago that just talked about who we work with and the agencies that we provide services to. But since 2009, we participated in 4 imagery collection partnership with municipalities. Also, our last one was in collaboration with Dolores County as well. Prior to 2009, the only custom imagery that we collected was part of the Dolores River project, and that was a pretty extensive data collection. And we would kind of wait for the NAPE imagery to become available and utilize that. But custom imagery, when used appropriately, can be a real asset to our operations. We also like to create a history of imagery as things go on and store imagery locally on our GIS servers. And we look to do this maybe once every few years, and that's about what that represents. We don't need to get into those partnerships and custom collections every single year, but as it becomes needed. We've also created and maintained a GIS database for tribal areas with the assistance of Ute Mountain EMS. We didn't used to have any data down in Tuliak in the tribal areas at all. And since then, we now have addresses, facilities, and fire hydrants down there. So I think that's a real positive. Also really didn't have any trail and recreation mapping. And while a lot of agencies individually, like the BLM, Forest Service, have their own trails database, there was nobody that was collecting it and disseminating that countywide. So we have all that in our database. Another big thing was the implementation of SmartGov planning software in early 2020 that we rolled out with the planning department. And this has just been huge as far as working together, because we see all the planning applications that go in, and allows our department to comment on those applications at the beginning of the planning process, and really allows us to work together with the planning department and septic department as well. The other thing that we started doing a number of years ago was actually reviewing the plats prior to approval. It used to be that the plats would come to us only when they were approved and and they were ready to be put into the GIS system, which could cause problems if we reviewed something and we saw a mistake on a plat. It was often too late, depending on the severity of the mistake. So now we review those prior to approval and provide comments. Another thing that the GIS department does now is we review those plats, and surveyors are now adding a county road right-of-way dedication to any plat, subdivision plat that abuts a county road. And the language on that is essentially, you know, we state that we have a right-of-way, but for clarification purposes, it's essentially restating it on the plat, our position that we do have a right-of-way easement along county roads. So that smoothed things out quite a bit. Also, since the E911 system out of Cortez Dispatch was implemented in 2010, we now provide our GIS data directly to that system to support that, which has also led to the creation of a countywide address point database, which currently has over 12,000 address points in it. Prior to that, we didn't have an address point database. Everything was parcel based, and you could say, here's an address, well, here's a parcel, and it pretty much allowed one address per parcel. So that's been a big change. And also, Jack, if you just go to the first PDF slide that I had, or just scroll down. This shows the addresses that we've assigned year by year, and the little bit of the history on this is that we had somebody out of the road department that started doing addressing in 2009. That was their half-time position, and they took it upon themselves to start doing some address corrections. And we're very active. For instance, down on Road G, there were a lot of issues. They really tackled some issues to correct addresses. And that program pretty much ran from 2009 until 2015. You see 2015 was a pretty big year for new address assignments or address corrections. That high number, while it got a lot of addresses corrected, it also caused some people some issues because they didn't like the very proactive approach that was happening. And so scaled things back a little bit, and I think we're tackling things on a case-by-case basis now. But the GIS department absorbed those duties in 2016, and at that point it was primarily assigning new addresses for new development and really necessary address changes. So you can see those numbers. Had a really busy year last year. We're usually assigning typically 3 addresses per week, which is pretty significant. And you have another graph there, Jack, if you scroll down. So this shows the county addresses by type that we assigned, just of interest of the types. Of course, they're primarily residential or driveway access placeholder, which is typically pre-development. Mobile homes, commercial, you can see that general breakdown. So we do have those stats going back all those years. It would be interesting to look at. And then the next graph there, Shaq, is distribution by zip code. Of course, Cortez has the majority, but surprisingly, Mancos and Dolores are right up there, and they're pretty equal. So, and then the next PDF just kind of shows some of our interactive, updated some of our interactive mapping site. I think I mentioned that first got our interactive mapping site in 2010, which I'm sure that Commissioner Copenhaver was instrumental in getting that first approved when that came online. And what that really did is it took a lot of the time away from us having to spend time making a lot of little custom maps every time somebody wanted to look at our data. And now people can do it on their own. And this is one thing that's increased exponentially. You can see from 2012, we had 18,000 hits per year. So last year is almost 80,000 hits per year. And what we're looking at currently, if you go to the next page there, Shaq, is in the first month of this year, we're at 7,500 hits essentially in the last month, which is going to equate to, I think, around 90,000 if that pans out for the entire year. So it's an indicator of interest in activity in the county in general. So our duties have changed and expanded quite a bit, but we're still handling it with a two-person department and enjoy the challenge that we do. And I think we're going to get back to working with Kim on voter precincts. Try and get that done this week. Today. Okay. Okay. Then I got my work to do too.
Actually, I played with the interactive map last night on those precincts. It's actually pretty quick. So I think for everybody out there, it's going to be pretty easy to navigate that, put your address in, and it'll pop right up. So I was pretty pleased to go through that.
I think it's handy for people to be able to see, what they're involved in, what they're voting in, even outside of what we're looking at now, which is precinct changes.
Correct.
So hopefully Vic, you'll do a post on this, maybe get that information out, and maybe if you want to, prior to the midterms next year, do another post so people can really see what they're in and what they're voting on. So
Very good tool.
Yeah.
I know that I use it in my research when we get our packets. It seems like planning constantly because of what we're looking at and researching. So I know that I use it weekly pretty easily.
Yeah.
Very good tool.
It's good.
Question, Commissioner? Okay. All right. Thank you, Doug.
Thanks, Doug.
All right, next we have our public lands, and I do see that Mr. O'Neill has stepped in and Connie is on Zoom. It's 10 o'clock or just a little after, so we'll jump right into our public lands update. Derek will not be here today because he's ill, so we'll just hear from the BLM. Good morning, Connie.
Good morning. Good morning, everybody. Connie Clementson here. I'm the field manager at the Trace Reels Field Office, and I see that Ray O'Neill, our monument manager, is there in person. So I'm going to let Ray kick us off today. He has a little bit longer list than I do, but I also wanted to extend a welcome back to Joe Copenhaver. Worked with you many years ago when I was the acting district ranger for the Forest Service. So appreciate you coming in, and I look forward to working with you along with the other commissioners. So with that, I'll turn it over to Ray.
Good morning. I'm Ray O'Neill. I'm the monument manager. We came to do a number of times, but welcome to the new commissioners. I have a few updates. And then James asked if I could also give the statement that I gave you guys last month about Yellow Jacket Flow Dinosaur. Commissioner could do that as well. We have a new special exhibit open at the center. The University of Colorado Denver has done a series of architectural drawings that will be a part of the collection at the Library of Congress. Those drawings are currently displayed at the center. It's recommended you guys come up and take a look at the Borders Food Special Exhibit. We have a new partner for our bookstore. Glen Canyon Conservancy is going to be joining us. We knew they were coming this spring. We're hearing that they may be joining us as soon as later this month. And we're very hours have been, we've been open 3 days a week, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, for the last 8 or 9 months. We're expanding up to 5 days a week, starting on March 1st. And then finally, for my short updates, the Austin acquisition, the scoping period closed several weeks ago for the environmental assessment. We have a draft environmental assessment which is out right now, open for public comment. The comment period closes in 2 weeks on the 22nd. And we did receive 58 comments during that scoping period, which is a lot for this type of planning process for us. The vast majority were positive, so we're recommendations.
Ray, is your mic on?
I think he just needs to pull it closer.
It was, how's that?
Thank you. I think that's better.
Okay. Do you want me to start over?
The closer you can get, the better off you are. There you go.
How's that?
Better.
Okay. Okay, so I apologize to those of you that have heard this before. Just a couple pages, but an update on the process that we're going through with the Yellow Jacket and Flowdine grazing allotments. 2 allotments have been vacant for 15 years. About 5 years ago, the BLM proposed to reissue permits. Due to pushback from environmental groups, monument and field office staff were asked to further analyze the proposal to reissue the grazing permits. The environmental community, the ranching community, and some of our affiliated tribes have all continued to pay close attention to our actions related to the two allotments. Further analyzing the proposal to reissue the grazing permits has meant that we have been working to come up with a new process. Over the last year or more, we've met regularly with the State Historic Preservation Office and the Advisory Council on Historic Preservation to develop a programmatic agreement which would allow the BLM to reissue the grazing permits while also protecting cultural resources. Once we complete the PA, we'll work through an environmental assessment, which includes work done on cultural sites as well as an analysis of effects to other resources. Our concern with potential damage centers on 3 types of cultural sites: standing architecture, rock art, and rock shelters. The majority of the sites on the monument are rubble piles. Through this process, we're not looking at any concerns with rubble piles. About 30% of the acreage of the 2 allotments have been surveyed for cultural sites. A first step to understand what could be damaged is to know what's out there. Surveying 100% of the sites would be prohibitively expensive. A couple of years ago, our archaeologist developed a report which compares the location of known sites with variables such as soils, geology, vegetation, and aspect. He was able to identify unsurveyed areas where sensitive sites are not likely to occur, moderately likely to occur, highly likely to occur. Our efforts in recent months have been to meld the archaeologist map with a map from our range specialists, which identifies how much use livestock will have in an area primarily based on distance from water sources. If an area is likely to have sensitive cultural resources but cows are unlikely to graze there, our level of concern and need for additional survey would be low. Our initial indications are that our process would reduce the need for additional surveys by about 90%. Once we complete the site identification portion of our PA, our next step will be to talk about mitigation, and grazing permittees could certainly be a part of that process. We're committed to public participation. Once we have an agreement from our signatories about the identification step, we plan to ask interested parties for input. We anticipate that'll occur in the next month or so. We also plan to offer an opportunity for a field trip to discuss the programmatic agreement, which likely will occur this spring. As I said last month, it hasn't been a fast process, but we are committed to figure out how to both protect the monument's resources and allow grazing on the monument. That's what I have. What questions do you have for me?
Do you really have any, timelines? I know you said that it's not a fast process, but any estimated timelines? So the hardest part of this process is the identification portion of the process, and we're very close. I believe we're going to be releasing something to the public in the next month or so, assuming things go as I hope and expect they will. We won't be done at that point, but we're moving forward. We have talked about getting to a place where
able to issue grazing permits, this year, but I can't commit to that.
When would that grazing typically start then? If it were done this year, is it June?
It's typically the permits are for winter grazing, so it would be next winter. And again, I don't know what's going to happen through this process, but that's the track we're trying to be on. And I think you guys know I've been here for about a year. I'm relatively new to the BLM, but what I've seen is that these two permits are getting an awful lot of attention from all sides, which makes us a bit of a lightning rod for the public lands grazing issue, and we're working through that.
All right.
No, I appreciate you coming in.
Sure. I didn't know I'd be on my own, but
Yeah.
you're very welcome.
Connie's still here.
Yes, she is. Yes, she is.
All right, are you done, Ray? Thank you.
Yes, I am.
All right, commissioners, I don't have a whole lot more to add to Ray's very robust report back to the commissioners, but I did want to remind the Board of County Commissioners that we will be hosting our Southwest Resource Advisory Council meeting in Montrose, March 2nd and 3rd. And so we are going to have a field trip the first day on March 2nd to an area outside of the Uncompahgre Field Office called Jumbo Mountain, and we'll be talking about travel management and the variety of other issues there. But more importantly, the meeting on the 3rd is going to be a hybrid type of meeting, so you could Zoom meeting in, or if you have a representative that would like to join via Zoom, you don't need to be there in person. So if there's an interest, I can get that invite information out to either Shaq or James Dietrich to participate in that. We always appreciate representation from our counties. So let me know on that. And then last item, just kind of a tickler or a teaser, we will be hosting the Southwest Resource Advisory Council meeting in the Trace Rios Field Office come our June meeting time. So I will be letting you know more about that as it gets closer, but really hoping to see the representation in person at that meeting from Montezuma County, since we'll be hosting it here. So I think that's all I have, unless the commissioners have questions for Ray or I.
Connie, Kent Lindsay. Open seats on the southwest rack. Anytime they're going to be filled, do you know?
Those requests are up in our headquarters office, and as you know, they're vetted all the way up to and through the White House. So our recommendations have gone up through, and they have not yet announced all of the placement of those folks, but I know that they're continuing to work on that at headquarters. So we do not have a fully staffed, so to speak, Resource Advisory Council at this time, but I know that we've submitted everything up to those that make those decisions.
Thank you.
You bet.
Question? Okay. Well, Connie, thank you.
All right.
And Ray, thank you guys. Have a good day.
Thank you for letting me zoom in today and say hello. And I do try to get there in person, but these darn virtual meetings, they book us back to back, and it doesn't allow for me to drive to other meetings. So sometimes I have to Zoom meeting in. So thank you, commissioners, and everybody have a great rest of your day.
Thanks,
I understand that. Thank you, Connie. Okay, the dwarf update. Danny, I see Danny's walking in the back of the room. Either way.
Whatever makes you happy. If you're happy, on
He's Shaq.
Awesome.
Shaq.
Well, thanks for having me today. Really appreciate being here. Want to just give an update on the collaborative, introduce myself to two of the, they're not necessarily new county commissioners that I actually haven't met yet, and give an update on really the last year of the collaborative and directions that we're going forward, and just a background on who we are. So I'm Danny Margolis. I am the coordinator for the Dolores Watershed Resilient Forest Collaborative. We're a group that's been around since about 2015, meeting really consistently since then. A really diverse group of land managers. So Derek's on our steering committee. Quite a few folks are. I can run through who our steering committee is in just a moment, but land managers from federal, state, and local government, nonprofits, forest products industry, research groups, fire preparedness groups, and more. And really fundamentally what we do is try to support resilient forests, communities, watersheds. We know that, and it obviously isn't going to be a surprise to any of you, that fire and disturbances are an issue, and they don't really abide by property boundaries. So federal lands or private lands or state lands, it's a concern across all management ownerships. And as a collaborative, we try to work together to identify interests and values and get more work done on the ground to reduce wildfire risk, to restore functioning ecosystems, to protect our watersheds, and to build a network of groups that communicate effectively, that share priorities, and really learn as we go, and develop the resources by working together in order to support more work actually happening, and risk actually getting reduced. So we have a number of different program areas that we're working in towards these goals. I want to just highlight a couple of them and then really identify where we're going. One of them is just fundamentally education and outreach to the stakeholders themselves, and then also to the broader community. It's important that the stakeholders as a group, the partners that are working together, have a shared set of information as much as possible that we're working from, which is a core requirement for aligning where we're going. If we're working from different sets of information, if we have different baseline knowledges, it's hard to have a shared vision. Also, it's important that we reach out to the community, let folks know what opportunities are out there to reduce their risk. Also, kind of just give a background of fire in these ecosystems. These are fire-adapted ecosystems, and in many ways, we're not getting away from a wildfire risk. We can't pave everything over. There's going to be some sort of fuel out there, and it's important that we understand how to live effectively and safely with fire, and just kind of the reality of it. We've been working with groups to train forest ambassadors, so San Juan Mountains Association and the U.S. Forest Service to train forest ambassadors. They have a program that brings kind of generally younger folks to trailheads, and they act as a liaison to recreational users in the area, kind of throughout the Forest Service system, but really focusing in Chicken Creek area, Boggy Draw, and then at higher elevations, to provide information about management activities, about wildfire risk, and just to help inform the public about safe recreational use too. So we kind of lead trainings with them, host a lot of tours. I don't know about a lot, but host quite a few tours, some that are more focused for the collaborative, some that are more focused for the public. Helped organize forest health conversations last year with Senator Hickenlooper that Commissioner Candelaria and Shaq attended, I know. And actually tomorrow we're going to be helping to host a conversation with a subset of folks with the town of Dolores along Merritt Way, kind of through the town, working with the town manager and Wildfire Adaptive Partnership and other partners, DFPC, to reduce some help support some defensible space projects in some of the most concerning areas there. And so my role in that conversation is really bridging the conversation that, like, it's important to do work on public lands, it's important to do work on private lands, and the work that happens on both sides of the boundary is really important for reducing risk for each other. We kind of have a shared need here. So we're doing a lot of work to help advance monitoring in the area, especially where we've just put in a site with a lot of different partners, especially the DWCD, the Water Conservancy District here, that looks at the effects that thinning projects have on snow and soil moisture. And we're running some transects from thin to unthin stands to really understand what are the impacts for future forests, so for trees to regenerate and come back up, but also, especially for the DWCD, they're really interested in generally the longer term implications for water quantity in the area, and how more dense or more open forests can play a role in that. And so we're trying to get some data on the ground. And I know that these have been kind of bigger conversations that a lot of folks have been really interested in through like the Southwest Basin Roundtable too. And we're trying to start some data collection in our local forests here. One of our core goals is to support the local forest products industry as well, especially to create kind of the capacity for cost-effective forest health treatments. We know that we can't grant fund everything. There's so much work that needs to happen, and it can't just be supported by grants. And want to support the local industry to be able to not only do kind of the commercial, the more like standard commercial timber operations, but how to utilize biomass in a cost-effective way. So really excited about some of the local conversations happening around pellet mills. A couple of folks are really interested in those right now, and Dwarf helped get some of those conversations first off the ground. There's some other work. I know we toured, there are a group of folks from the county that toured the cross-laminated timber operation out in La Plata County with Timber Age. And so I think that there's a lot of really unique and interesting opportunities, and we're trying to support those to happen. We're excited that there are functioning mills here. David Sitton is on our steering committee, on our coordinating committee here, and brings a really strong voice for the importance of a viable forest products industry. The other kind of core area is just collaborating on projects with land management agencies, identifying barriers and opportunities to getting more work done on the ground that supports community resilience, forest resilience, and watershed resilience on both sides of the boundary. On both sides of many boundaries, really. Hosted and facilitated a lot of conversations around a large-scale environmental assessment that's happening in the Boggy Draw area, and north of it, the Salter environmental assessment that maybe you guys have heard about. And really trying to make sure that there's collaborative alignment on how that project is going forward, from recreation users, from forest products industry, from conservation groups, from the town of Dolores, from the county, and aligning those expectations and really working hard to do that. We hosted a lot of tours, a number of tours around that, hosted a lot of conversations around that. And that EA did get passed recently. Similar conversations around Chicken Creek work. There's going to be upcoming ones around prescribed fire, especially at higher elevations. There's already a prescribed fire environmental assessment throughout the Ponderosa Pine Zone on the Dolores District. There's going to be one in the mixed conifer coming up soon, and we're going to be beginning to host those conversations starting tomorrow, actually, on the next dwarf meeting. And then wanted just to highlight some of the large-scale kind of initiatives that are happening right now. You can see on this map here, there's the Rocky Mountain Restoration Initiative, which I'm wondering, are you guys aware of, kind of familiar with RMRI? Too much? A little bit.
I see a lot of the presentations and the emails and the stuff that come through.
Excellent.
So yes, I do.
That's really encouraging, and that's really helpful to know. So Rocky Mountain Restoration Initiative is a cross-boundary initiative. It's a partnership that was really spearheaded between the U.S. Forest Service and the Wild Turkey Federation, and that is in kind of the brown and spans private lands, spans all land management types, or all land types. The collaborative really helped bring that, the collaborative along with the Forest Service and the other collaboratives throughout the region here, helped bring that here, and we're having a lot of conversations right now about priorities within, they're kind of sub-priorities already within that landscape. And some of the priority areas are around the town of Dolores, around Jackson Gulch, town of Mancos, and really that like 184 corridor between there and expanding out there. So RMRI in our area is really focusing on protecting our communities, protecting corridors, and cross-boundary opportunities in that area. The Collaborative Forest Landscape Restoration Program, which is another one that Dwarf, as well as the other collaboratives in the area and the Forest Service and a number of other partners, helped get for this area. It's a 10-year program as well, and we just got official word that we were selected for it from the Secretary of Agriculture. Funding for it still hasn't occurred yet, but we're developing a governance structure as we speak, and the goal is large-scale forest restoration that is economically viable, and so supports local businesses throughout the entire forest. Technically, what we're really focusing on is the Ponderosa Pine Zone and then the mixed conifer, the warm-dry mixed conifer, so kind of where it transitions a little bit upslope from the Ponderosa Pine ecosystem. And there's a lot of work happening right now. There's going to be a lot of work happening in the future. This especially helps with some of the less cost-effective treatments, the ones where there's less merchantable wood. And we're excited for a lot of that work to be happening. Finally, maybe, Shaq, if you can go to the next page on there. This is just highlighting some of the areas that we're really focusing on the 184 corridor and then north of the town of Dolores especially. There's a unique DNR funding opportunity right now that James has been a part of a lot of the conversation. Jim was actually, I think, on our last call, and trying to identify with a lot of different partners where to invest some dedicated resources focused on reducing risk to communities and critical infrastructure. So critical infrastructure here most likely involves some of our water infrastructure. There are certainly some power lines, some gas lines that go through the area as well. And working with folks like Wildfire Adaptive Partnership, the county, DFPC, the Forest Service, State Forest Service, the Mancos Conservation District, High Desert Conservation District, Montezuma Land Conservancy, BLM, and other folks to identify some of those core areas that we want to focus these efforts. And right now it's looking at kind of between Summit Lake, and Jackson Gulch Reservoir. There's a lot of work happening already, and there's a lot of opportunity for us to fill in some gaps there. a lot of work happening on the Forest Service and cross-boundary opportunity, like directly across the fence line, and working with a lot of local landowners and really like stitching together this stitching together this effort to effectively secure a kind of community safety there. Also chatting with the fire protection districts on some of the evac routes and prioritizing those. I know that that's one of the biggest concerns, and I think especially with some of the wildfires throughout the state right now, it's highlighting that that's actually some of the most important work that we really need to do. So just to fill in one little gap, the other folks on our coordinating committee, so Derek Padilla, James is now on it. Really appreciate the support of the county through James, Duncan Rose with Trout Unlimited, Steve Garcher, Dolores County Commissioner, Mike Preston, formerly with the DWCD, Danny Gregory with Southwest Cycling Association, Jimbo Buick-Root with San Juan Citizens Alliance, and David Sitton with Aspen Wallwood. And really appreciate their support and their vision in fulfilling the mission and goals of the collaborative. So happy to answer any questions. I feel like I could ramble on for a long time, but don't want to take up all of you guys' time here, and appreciate you hearing me out today.
I've got one question. When we did that tour last summer in La Plata County, it was cross-dominated timber. They're taking all of the kind of waste products out of the forest. I think it was 8-inch and smaller, right, Shaq?
That's correct.
Which is kind of waste that the
Yep.
mining companies or the mills don't necessarily want that stuff. Is that just in that area over there, or is it over here? Because it seemed like there was interest in both counties. Is that?
Yeah, I think that's a great question, and I know they can go pretty low. I don't think that they can go to they can't use the really tiny stuff, but they can go down to I think about 4 or 5 inches, which is pretty good, and maybe 5 inches. And they are focused right now in La Plata County. They have a pretty small operation, and they're able to get everything they need really pretty easily from not too far away. I think that they were trying to consider, especially, so they are expanding, and if some of the permits weren't going through too easily with La Plata County, I think that they were really looking to expand out here. Instead, I think it did go through with La Plata County, so they're going to be staying over there, and they have a close contract with an operator who is cutting the wood, I think, around Junction Creek, just outside of Durango, and they're getting, I think, all the wood that they need for a while from this one project. But I would say, I think what I appreciate about their model is they're trying to not just do work for them and secure their niche, but they want to keep expanding, either help other groups do cross-laminated timber, help other organizations do that, or expand themselves out into Montezuma County in the future. And so we have no shortage of smaller diameter ponderosa pine in Montezuma County and Dolores counties here. And so I think it would be awesome if it could happen, but I don't think that it's an imminent thing. Yeah. Yeah. I think the pellet mill opportunity is pretty exciting. I think that that's one of the most kind of short-term or immediate opportunities for smaller tree diameter utilization. There's a lot of challenges too, and just the cost effectiveness of hauling that material, and how much money you get for pellets, and how much it costs to bring it from the forest and not just burn it there in a slash pile. And so I think that that's some of the need for working out some of those logistics. But yeah.
No, I have none. Thank you.
Great.
Thanks,
Scott.
Have a great day. We're gonna move right into unfinished business, and the only thing we have there right now is a presentation that we had yesterday from Heather Alvarez with the town of Memphis on the 1 to 3 mile, plan. And if you'll bring that up, Jack. This is just an IGA with, between the town of Memphis and Montezuma County. We went over this yesterday. Ian's looked at it, have no condition or concerns with it.
Yeah, no, not really, commissioners. I mean, I think that you guys kind of hit it on the head yesterday with the water requirement, and I think that's really the water and the sewer is the biggest piece of this. Certainly, you can understand from the town's perspective where they're coming from, but it is going to put certain restrictions on development immediately in that 1 mile radius, and so it's not a legal issue per se. It's more of a policy consideration and how you guys want to move forward.
Yeah, I looked last night and reread it, and we're doing a lot of this now, but I didn't see anything. So, Gerald, do you have any? Okay.
I think the best point that Commissioner Copenhagen brought up yesterday is really the natural resource of the water itself in the Memphis Valley for development or expansion without being able to get the water from some other source. So as far as how this idea affects us, it doesn't pull anything from us.
And I think the really important thing to understand here is that ultimately when we come to these land use decisions, a lot of what this agreement is going to do is it's going to facilitate notice to the town of Mancos and vice versa. Basically notice between the two entities, the county and the city or the town, and then just an opportunity to comment. But ultimately, we're still going to have the final say in most of this stuff. The water is really the meat of it.
And it does do a good job of keeping the doors of communication open. Somebody once told me there's no way to over communicate. So
Yeah. I would so move that we sign the intergovernmental agreement for road, street, water, and sewer infrastructure management for the 1 mile area between town of Mancos and Montezuma County.
Second.
So it's been moved and seconded to sign the intergovernmental agreement for the road and street, water and sewer infrastructure management for the 1 mile area between the town of Memphis, Colorado and Montezuma County. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, Chuck, I don't have anything else on unfinished business unless you do.
no, not at this time. Thank you.
And then we'll go to our natural resource director along with our emergency manager, James Dietrich and James Stratton.
All right. Morning, gentlemen.
Good morning.
First thing I'll lead off on is a proposed Forest Service action. This is the Beaver Rim Expansion Project, and what this is an existing gravel pit. The Forest Service is planning to expand the gravel pit footprint by about 19.8 acres. They're anticipating about 10 years worth of gravel coming from that pit. It's located in an area which, of course, is adjacent to a lot of the roads that are being degraded. A lot of those roads really haven't been reworked for about 40 years or so. We're seeing unprecedented levels of recreation, which is contributing to road conditions. And then it's also in an area, of course, up there around the Glade in that Lone Pine area where we're expecting to see additional commercial use. So this gravel pit is in a pretty good location. It cuts down transportation, hauling, and it's a suitable source for that type of gravel. So what I've done is I've prepared a letter of support for the gravel pit expansion. And again, that should provide about 10 years worth of gravel coming from that particular pit. And that, I would point out, really kind of correlates with the time frame that we're expecting to see most of the logging operations happen up in that area.
So is that
Shaq, you might be able to pull up that map that's associated. We might take a look at that. Should be at the end of that. Or maybe they haven't got one to, no, there it is. So it is located in Montezuma County, and it's, up really in the Boggy Glade area, kind of. Well, I think everybody can kind of see where it's located there pretty well. It's got a box around it. So this was a proposed action that, Derek was going to talk about today, but since he wasn't here, I just went over it for him. Would mention too that the comment period, we don't have to sign this letter today. This is something we could review if we need more information about it also.
That gravel pit's been there for a long time. For as long as I can remember, as long as I've been around. And it's there, it's still permitted, so I don't see it. I would so move we sign a letter of support for the Beaver Rim expansion project.
Moved and seconded that we sign a letter of support for the San Juan National Forest, Montezuma County, Beaver Rim expansion project, filed code 1950/7100. All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you, gentlemen. I guess I'll go ahead and finish up my report. Last week, I did spend some time, working with the Dolores, with the Dwarf Group, and as Danny mentioned, with the coordinating committee on that. So we'll continue to put forth the effort to make regular meetings on that, and it's a pretty exciting collaborative. I think in a lot of ways it's been pretty effective, in engaging, especially with the conservation organizations, San Juan Citizen Alliance, and so forth, as well as having it be very, very science-based has been helpful. We haven't had any serious threats of lawsuits or anything like that so far on either the Salter or the Lone Pine timber cuts. So there, I think, value to that right there. So anyway, I think that the overview that Danny gave was really good. I think we've got some pretty exciting projects coming forward with that. We'll hopefully see some action on the ground with that soon. Okay, I guess the next item of business it really has to do with the communications tower. Jim and I have put together a letter regarding the communications tower. We've got a few concerns that we're starting with. I mean, one of them is the notification on that. The Forest Service probably should have come forward prior to having this come out in the Federal Registry. It's not a knock on our local ranger or anything like that, but it is a point of order. And based on the coordination requirements established through FLIPMA, we feel like the Forest Service probably has not fully met their obligations in this case. We're simply pointing that out to them. We are asking for an additional 30 days to review this a little bit further. There could be some hidden fees that we have not uncovered, and we really would like to fully evaluate this. We've made a few other points in here. I mean, one of them being that, we own one of those towers. And since we are also allowing the Forest Service to co-locate emergency services devices on that tower, it feels a little unfair to be put in a position of charging an extra fee for that type of service, especially when it's providing a mutual benefit to both the Forest Service as well as to county citizens. So we're really just asking that they consider a 30-day extension to the comment period, and also to keep themselves open to a waiver of any of these fees when it happens to be for emergency services. Jim, you want to add anything more to that?
He said it all.
Okay.
Well, I think one of the biggest things that we need to always remember is that per FLIPMA, that coordination effort actually has to be done for their own guidelines.
Correct.
That's correct.
With them moving this forward the way that they're doing it, they're circumventing the process and not engaging us at all. So I think it's critical that coordination portion of that really gets back to them and they're gonna.
Yeah, I mean, there's a phrase out there now for thee and not for me.
That's right. That's right. You know, and we've been after them about this for a long time, and things have gotten better. Not perfect, but things have gotten better. So, you know, a good solid reminder back to the Forest Service on a regular basis is probably merited. And they, I think, have dropped the ball on this one in terms of notification.
Yes.
I think as all we got notified was that we were gonna have a fee, correct?
Yeah.
No coordination effort at all.
Not until, yeah, we received that late December, so no one's reading large documents at Christmas time. And then in January, I received the email from the Southwest Colorado sales site that had this document attached to it saying, we're going to charge you $1,400 on Cavanis. And that was the first week in January, and hardly anybody across the state of Colorado was notified. When I got with the user group for communication, only a few knew about it, and they got it exact the same way I did. Inadvertently received this Federal Register. So I didn't see any coordination or cooperation or notification from Forest Service during any of that time, and no one else has in the state. So we find that odd.
Have you heard anything from the bordering states? You know, Arizona and New Mexico?
No, I put a feeler out for the 2 San Juan counties and Apache. Haven't heard back from them, but was hoping to hear from Tammy back on that. So see what they get on it. I think Hinsdale was one of the biggest ones because they're in the middle of Forest Service and most of their towers are there, and they are going to be impacted pretty heavy compared to the other counties. So yeah, it's yep, people wise 200 less than Dolores County. So
Like I said, the biggest issue I have with it is their coordination effort, that they're not complying with the guidelines, so.
right.
I definitely think that we should send this letter at this month.
I agree.
Okay, I think it'd be great. Thank you. Commission to sign it? You need it.
Make a motion.
Muslim County Board of Commissioners is requesting an extension of the common period for the USDA Forest Service proposal to establish an annual carbon mileage fee for communication use authorization coverage between 27 and 21. The comment period is supposed to close February 22nd, 2022, and it's too short the notice for the stockholder, so we're asking this extension.
Second.
The legal second is to send a letter of request for an extension of 30 days for the coordination efforts of the towers located in Montezuma County to comply with the FLIPMA regulations. All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, thank you, gentlemen. I have nothing more for today unless you gentlemen have some questions.
No.
Thank you, sir.
All right, thank you.
Hopefully they'll work with us on this. I said, hopefully they'll work with us on this. Yeah, hopefully so.
I had one complaint from a resident of Memphis on, town of Memphis on his road. Other than that, I really haven't had it. I looked into the issue and went by his house to see what possibilities were, why he was complaining. The guy is handicapped and he lives in a little cul-de-sac area, and it's real narrow there, so I'm sure the issue is the town's not wanting to plow into that little bitty area, but it is a city street, so I was going to address it whenever they have them at town meeting.
And that actually came to me, so thank you, Commissioner Copenaver, for I was able to actually pass that on to the appropriate district, and I thank you for doing that. Commissioner Lindy.
Yeah. Friday, we had a jail tour, or not Friday, last Tuesday, we had a jail tour and stayed behind and had a visit with Judge Padilla, the city municipal judge, and she was quite impressed with our facility. And I think she intends to help fill it up.
It's full.
Yeah. I talked to the sheriff yesterday, we were 84 over the weekend. So, but that with a number of phone calls and messages, even one yesterday morning, passing them along to different departments, and so we're getting there. Otherwise, it was kind of quiet.
Actually, I agree with that. It was actually a quiet week, which was pretty nice. I too, with the other two commissioners, attended the jail tour and met with the council, or not the council, the city manager and the judge, Mr. Dia. And then now just doing a lot of reading over the bills, the legislative session. We'll have a legislative call this Friday. Commissioner Copenhaver and I will be sitting in the airport, so we'll be attending via Zoom, and a staff committee meeting from an airport. So I don't have anything else today.
And I would just add, commissioners, that we've public noticed it, but we will be meeting at the airport at 3 o'clock, discussing essential air services, followed by continuing at the City of Cortez workshop meeting at 5:30 at City Hall. And then, as you mentioned, Chairman Candelaria, you and Commissioner Copenhaver will be going back to DC to participate in the legislative process, and so there will be no workshop Monday and no BOCC meeting on Tuesday.
Correct, and I take that back. On Monday, yesterday, we did have our workshop, and some of the highlights, we had invited the two major parties to go over the voter precinct update and to go over the interactive map that Doug spoke about earlier. That's on our website. Heather Otter and Laura Marchino gave an update from Region 9. Their new information can be seen on their website, which is pretty informative. And a lot of what they do is really data collection. And not only that, but bridge funding for some of our locals in the area or in the whole region to be able to start businesses and keep businesses going. It's a great website. They do a great job. We also discussed with the lodgers tax. Brian Bartlett was here. Apparently, Montezuma County has not been receiving our portion of the lodgers tax that's being collected from the state because we don't have an agreement with the state. So
Just from Airbnb and VRBO.
Correct.
We get it from the hotels and RVs.
Just from these two, Airbnb and VRBO, I checked it. Ian is looking it over. We had a draft presented to us from Pagosa. And then we will look at that and probably accept that so that the state will then send us the money that goes into this lodging tax. So the VRBO and the Airbnbs are paying it. It goes to the state, but without us requesting it, it just gets put into the state's general fund, and it doesn't come back into our community where it's being paid for the purpose of what it's being paid for. So we will see that when we get back from Washington.
And the agreements will actually be between the county and the VRBO and the Airbnb.
think I've covered everything, and with that, gentlemen, I would entertain.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded that we adjourn this February 8th meeting, 2022. All those in favor?
Aye.